I watched my younger brother's life detonate across a glass table in a conference room with my name on the door. 3 years of being the one who doesn't count, the family embarrassment, the one they left behind, all boiled down to this moment. And now he was standing in my office, completely unaware that the woman he had tried to erase from the family story was the one holding every card. My name is Olivia Hayes. I'm 31, and as of today, I'm the CEO of a company my family thought I'd never touch. Funny thing is, they didn't even know I was building it. Every holiday, every family event for the past 3 years, my parents had chosen him over me. No seat at the table, no plate of Christmas ham, no how's school, or how's work. Just empty chairs where my presence should have been. The ultimatum was simple. If you show up, he won't. And, of course, I was expected to silently accept it. I did more than accept it. I disappeared into silence. While they were busy showing off my brother at every gala and every dinner, I was quietly building something they could never touch. It started with a single idea, a small investment in a niche market, and a refusal to let their favoritism define me. Over the years, I turned that tiny project into a full-fledged empire. A company that now spans 3 continents, employs hundreds, and sits in a building with my name gleaming above the door. And then, the universe decided to play its hand. My brother, the golden child, walked into my office for what he thought was a routine big interview. A meeting to discuss a partnership with his client. He had no idea who he was about to meet. I smiled, gesturing toward the chair across from me. I'd like you to meet our CEO. I watched his face change. At first confusion, then disbelief, then completely, utterly pale. The confident, cocky little brother who had spent years making me feel small suddenly had no script, no escape, no clue how to respond. The power had shifted, and I was standing in the middle of it, calm, collected, and in control. I leaned back, letting the moment stretch, letting him feel every second of the reversal he never saw coming. Tell me, what time is it where you are right now? Because wherever it is, I promise you've never been in a meeting like this. Before I tell you what happened next, let me set the stage. This isn't just a story about a family feud or sibling rivalry. It's a story about exclusion, betrayal, and the silent construction of power. It's about what happens when the one you tried to erase quietly becomes unstoppable. And trust me, the look on his face is one you won't forget. Family favoritism, golden child syndrome, betrayal during holidays. These are universal triggers. Everyone watching can relate, even if your family drama isn't as extreme. And somewhere in that relatability lies the satisfaction of watching the underdog win, of seeing justice served not with violence, but with achievement, with sheer, undeniable success. They'll tell you it was a misunderstanding. That's what my parents always say when I bring it up now. Like 3 years of cold shoulders, empty chairs, and silent dinners could ever be reduced to a misunderstanding. But back then, in our cramped Chicago apartment with the faint smell of cranberry glaze still clinging to the chipped white saucepan, it felt like a slow-burning betrayal that no sugar or spice could fix. It started on December 30th, the day before New Year's Eve, when families usually gather, laugh, and share warmth. My phone rang while I was chopping vegetables for my own dinner, and my mother's voice came through. Syrupsweet, but with that underlying tension that had become impossible to ignore. "Olivia," she said, "sit this one out, just for this year." I froze, knife halfway to the cutting board. My father chimed in, calm, almost rehearsed. "Don't make this about you. Just don't make it about you." The phrase, "just one dinner," echoed in my head as if it were a mantra, a warning and a trap all at once. And I understood immediately. Ryan, my younger brother, the one whose life would soon explode across a glass conference table, was at the center of it. My refusal to disappear quietly, to smile and nod, was apparently the problem. The real breaking point didn't happen at the dinner table. It happened over an ethics paper, Ryan's MBA assignment. He called me one night, pleading, "Just help me polish it, Liv. You know, make it sound better." I looked at the document he sent. Word for word. Copied. Plagiarized from another student's work. I told him no. I wouldn't help him cheat. I could feel the heat rise in my chest as I said it, even though it was the right choice. "You're just jealous," he snapped on the phone, And I remember that phrase like a punch to the gut. You'd rather watch me fail. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just a disagreement. My integrity, my refusal to enable his shortcuts, had made me the villain in his story. And once he started spinning it to my parents, the narrative shifted so fast I barely had time to breathe. You have to understand, my mother said later, her voice calm but firm. He won't come if you're there. Be the bigger person, she added, a phrase that would haunt me for years. Be the bigger person. Disappear. Step aside. Make sure the golden child feels comfortable while you fade into the background. And so I did. Or at least I tried. The first exclusion was almost laughable if it weren't so painful. I microwaved pasta in my tiny apartment, alone, while photos from the family dinner rolled across my feed. Laughter, champagne flutes clinking, Ryan leaning into my parents with that smug grin, and me? Not a single mention. Not even a wish you were here. By the second year, the pattern had escalated. Make your own plans, my mother said over the phone. And by the third year, being uninvited became a tradition, an expectation. Another time never came. Another chance never existed. The phrase, be the bigger person, had become a weapon, wielded to erase me slowly but completely. Would you keep showing up with gifts and apologies if your family treated you like this? I asked myself that question every holiday, every year, as I tried to hold on to some shred of normalcy. The moral complexity cut deep. Refusing to help Ryan cheat, standing by my ethics, should have been a point of pride. But in our family, it became my punishment. Parental favoritism isn't just subtle. It's visible in the empty chair at the head of the table, in the way one child's mistakes are excused while another's are magnified, in the silent erasure that stretches over months and years. And when your family weaponizes phrases like, be the bigger person, what they're really saying is, disappear. Your presence isn't wanted here. Make way for him. That slow erasure, the constant gaslighting, the reframing of my morality as jealousy or spite. It was the origin of betrayal. It wasn't a single act, a single wrong. It was a carefully constructed, emotionally manipulative pattern that lasted 3 years, taught me the value of self-reliance, and ultimately set the stage for the moment when the power would reverse. By the time I built my empire in silence, by the time Ryan walked into my office without a clue, this origin story, the New Year's dinners, the plagiarized papers, the weaponized maturity, was my fuel. And as I watched him realize slowly that the sister he had dismissed as jealous was now the one holding every key, I knew the betrayal had come full circle. I wasn't the same woman they'd quietly pushed out. While they celebrated Ryan's every accomplishment, every perfect GPA and every holiday accolade, I was building something that no one at home could have imagined. It started small, almost laughably so. A shared office above a bar, ceiling tiles rattling with bass-heavy music from the night crowd below. I slept on friends' couches, carried the same blazer to every pitch meeting, and whispered to myself during pre-revenue days, this is just the beginning. Bridgepoint Capital, as it would soon be called, was my rebellion disguised as ambition. Investors would later call me impressive for someone so young. At the time, I was barely holding it together. I watched as men with far worse numbers than mine received funding immediately, while I learned the brutal lesson of hearing no without letting it define me. 18-hour days became routine. My credit cards maxed. My car sold for cash. Instant noodles and vending machine coffee were my sustenance. Every no I faced, every door slammed in my face, became fuel for the quiet empire I was constructing. Meanwhile, my family remained blissfully blind. My parents would brag about Ryan's GPA at summer barbecues. We don't really understand what Olivia does, my mother said once, barely glancing at me, immediately switching the conversation back to Ryan's professors. My presence, my work, my entire trajectory existed outside their mental map of the family. Invisible. It was the third New Year since my exclusion that marked a turning point. I had just secured a critical funding round, real customers, and tangible revenue. I negotiated a buyout with my co-founder and became the majority owner, then CEO, of Bridgepoint Capital. But none of that mattered in their mental picture. To them, I was still Olivia, the one who doesn't show up, while Ryan's life was a series of milestones to be showcased. The universe has a way of delivering irony in small, delicious doses. One day, a cousin accidentally added me to a private family Facebook group. My mother's post appeared first. Olivia just doesn't get family the way he does. She chose her career. Ryan chose us. I saved the screenshot immediately in a folder I labeled Families and Fires. It was validation and fuel, both at once. Then came the toast video. My mother's syrupy voice, full of faux concern. Once Ryan gets that position at Bridgepoint, Olivia should stay out of his way for once. My father chuckled in the background. As long as HR doesn't run into Liv, he'll be fine. The room laughed, using my name as the punchline. I stared at the screen, the irony so thick it could be sliced with a knife. They were literally planning Ryan's career inside the company I had built. The same company where the logo on the wall bore my signature. The HR team they wanted to avoid reported directly to me. And every strategic decision had my fingerprints all over it. That moment, the realization hit me. I had already won. The universe had rearranged the pieces, long before I'd even considered confrontation. They were blind to it. They were planning a future that existed entirely in my kingdom, and they had no idea who ruled it. The years of exclusion, the New Year's dinners, the gaslighting, the be the bigger person mantra. It had all been building toward this cosmic justice. Have you ever realized that the revenge you've been imagining might not even be necessary? That the universe, or maybe just relentless persistence, has a way of flipping the script without you ever having to lift a hand? That's the feeling I carried every time I walked past the boardroom where Ryan would one day sit, blissfully unaware of the empire around him. And yet I didn't gloat, at least not immediately. There was satisfaction in knowing the truth. That persistence, hard work, and refusing to let family favoritism define my self-worth had created something tangible, something lasting, something untouchable by their ignorance. They had underestimated me. They had laughed at me. And all the while I had built the stage for the moment when the power dynamic would finally, inevitably reverse. By the time Ryan walked into my office, unaware he was stepping into my world, all the pieces had been set. Every New Year's dinner he had bragged about, every time he had told my parents I didn't understand family, every slight and accusation of jealousy, it had all led here. The universe, it seemed, has a way of balancing the scales. And sometimes the balance comes quietly, built over years of late nights, empty coffee cups, and an unwavering refusal to disappear. I smiled as I thought about it. The empire was mine. And very soon, so would be the look on his face when he realized exactly whose kingdom he had been planning his career in. I stood in front of the frosted glass doors, adjusting my black pantsuit like armor. The kind of outfit you wear not just for style but for battle. I could hear my own heartbeat, steady but charged. I thought back to being 12, back when I'd first learned that nobody likes a girl who thinks she runs the room. Back then, running the room got me teased, dismissed, ignored. Now, I literally ran the room. Inside, the office smelled faintly of polished wood and coffee. My name gleamed on the door. Olivia Hayes, Chief Executive Officer. Maya, my assistant, hovered nearby, her concern obvious. "You okay?" she asked softly. Jordan, our HR director, was arranging the packets on the table, perfectly aligned. His movements deliberate. Calmed, I glanced at my phone. A text from my mother popped up. "Good luck vibes for Ryan today. Don't make it awkward." I stared at it for a moment, the absurdity sinking in. They thought they were sending support. I thought, support for who, exactly? The door opened. Ryan walked in, full of swagger, ready to charm the room. His eyes didn't land on me first. That would have been too obvious. Jordan cleared his throat. "I'd like to introduce you to our CEO." Ryan's head snapped toward me. His smile faltered, cracked, then vanished entirely. "You're the CEO. Since when?" he asked, his voice cracking just enough to betray disbelief. The interview began, a panel for a strategic operations manager role. Normally, Ryan oozed confidence. Today, his swagger was gone. His knuckles were white as he gripped the table, and even his polished answer sounded shallow, like buzzwords lifted straight from a textbook. Every confident smirk that once punctuated his sentences was gone. I leaned forward slightly, careful, measured. Choose between protecting your own comfort and doing what was ethically right, I asked. Just 4 words, but loaded. Both of us knew exactly what I was referencing. Sometimes people just don't fit, he said, fumbling, his voice tight. You can't let one person ruin the mood. The word mood. That phrase came straight from my mother. Hearing it now in his mouth, applied to a workplace decision, made my pulse quicken. I pressed further. What if the person you're excluding is contributing more? My eyes locked on his, holding the silence like a weight. He flailed, trying to find an answer. It's about maintaining culture, he said, his gaze darting around the room. He'd never learned to separate parental approval from right and wrong. Everything was still filtered through the lens of their favoritism, their validation, their invisible checklist of what made him worthy. The final question was simple. I leaned back, my voice calm but firm. Why Bridgepoint? He swallowed. My family is counting on me, he said. They've sacrificed so much. I know someone who already works here. No acknowledgement of the fact that she, not they, had built the company. No mention of the countless hours, the funds wired to support strategic hires, or the vision she had painstakingly brought to life. This wasn't about growing, innovating, or contributing. It was about obligation. I paused. The panel didn't move. The room held its breath. I smiled softly. We have what we need, I said. Ryan's face went pale. Did I blow it because of the family stuff? He asked, panic creeping in. Jordan spoke next, calm and professional. We evaluate on skills, experience, values. I added, cold and unwavering. Our values are non-negotiable. Terror, confusion, and underneath it all, the first flicker of shame. That was the moment I had been waiting for. Not revenge in its childish form, but justice. Controlled, precise, undeniable. The charm that had carried him through high school, the silver tongue that convinced my parents I was jealous and wrong, failed him entirely. The power had shifted, and now he understood, at least partially, what he had been missing all along. Have you ever wanted revenge and justice at the same time? That was it. Watching someone who spent years undermining me confront a truth they weren't prepared to face. And all while I remained poised, professional, untouchable. The irony wasn't lost on me. Ryan had spent his life thinking he was the one setting the rules, planning the celebrations, orchestrating admiration. And yet, in this room, he had to navigate a world he couldn't control. A world built by the very person he had underestimated, ignored, and dismissed. I stayed calm, letting the room feel my composure, letting him squirm just enough without breaking protocol. This wasn't about humiliation. It was about exposure. His hypocrisy, his entitlement, and the undeniable fact that the empire he thought was his family's playground was mine. By the time the interview ended, Ryan was no longer the golden child who got everything handed to him. He was just a candidate, equal in assessment, stripped of illusion, facing the professional reality he had never prepared for. And for the first time, he realized that being charming, being liked by family, and having history on his side meant nothing against merit, ethics, and quiet, relentless determination. The first flicker of power reversal had been lit. And I knew in that moment that everything I had endured, every slight, every exclusion, every empty chair at a New Year's dinner, had led to this precise, satisfying, unstoppable moment of justice. He didn't wait for the official email. No polite follow-up, no scheduled meeting. 2 hours later, there was a sharp knock on my apartment door. I opened it to find him there. Tie loosened, hair tousled, shoulders slumped as if the weight of the universe had landed squarely on them. His posture screamed defeat before his words even began. "You set me up," he spat, voice tight, eyes darting between disbelief and desperation. I didn't flinch. Calmly I replied, "Job posting was public. You applied on your own. You knew it was your company," he pressed, stepping closer. "You could have told me," I said, arching an eyebrow. "You mean the dinners I wasn't invited to?" I added, my voice quiet but precise, cutting through the tension like a scalpel. He froze, the words hitting harder than any argument he'd thrown at me in our childhood. I opened my laptop and brought up the Families and Fires folder. His eyes widened as I displayed my evidence. Screenshots of my mother's Facebook post, the toast video where my parents had laughed at me as though I were a punchline. "They didn't mean," he stammered. "They meant every word," I finished for him. "The videos and screenshots didn't lie." Ryan's defenses crumbled. "I thought you were just dramatic," he muttered. "Mom said you always twist things. Dad said you didn't understand pressure. They said you'd be fine because you always land on your feet." I let it sit for a moment, letting the weight of truth settle. "They never asked how many bones I'd broken on the way down," I said softly. "Why didn't you tell me?" He swallowed, voice small. "Because when I tried to tell you I was drowning," I continued, "you told me not to ruin the mood. Easier to stay small in your world, right?" The central question hovered between us, taut as a wire. "Are you going to tank my chances?" he asked, almost pleading. "Is this your way of getting back at me?" I looked at him carefully, weighing every word. "I'm not going to sabotage you," I said slowly, deliberately. "But I'm also not going to lie. You weren't prepared. You applied for a role based on what this job would do for them, not for yourself." I offered the terms. A junior position, a chance to actually learn, no shortcuts. He would answer to a manager, not me. He would earn every inch of progress, every achievement. It wasn't punishment. It wasn't revenge. It was reality, and perhaps the most merciful form of justice. Growth under boundaries, accountability, and opportunity tempered by experience. His eyes flicked up, searching for some hint of mercy or rage, some confirmation of the old sibling rivalry. But I gave none. I was the same sister, yes, but I was also the CEO now. Clear, unwavering, and fair. Then came the question that always lingered around the holidays. "Do you ever want to come back?" Pause. This wasn't just about a job or a confrontation. This was about family, trust, and respect. "I want a family that doesn't require me to disappear," I said. "If you and they can't offer that, my answer is no." He nodded slowly, the weight of comprehension finally settling in. This wasn't about revenge as punishment. The revenge I'd imagined for years, seeing them squirm, seeing the tables turn, wasn't necessary. The real victory had been reclaiming myself, my career, and my boundaries. The moment carried all the elements of justice without cruelty. I had confronted the enablers, spoken truth to family, and established the rules of engagement moving forward. Ryan had a chance, yes, but it came with conditions. Accountability, humility, and acknowledgement that the world doesn't bend to favoritism. It was the kind of reckoning that leaves no room for misinterpretation. Mercy and justice coexisted, balanced perfectly. And the emotional weight of years of exclusion and betrayal was finally processed in one quiet, deliberate acct. By the time he left my apartment, I could feel the tension lifting. The room no longer held the ghosts of past dinners, the judgment of parents, or the long shadows of childhood favoritism. The universe, it seemed, had already done its work. I had simply followed through with integrity, composure, and an unwavering sense of what was right. And somewhere deep down, I knew that the boundaries I had drawn today would define not just our relationship, but my life going forward. No more erasure. No more silent suffering. Only clarity, accountability, and the quiet power of someone who had survived, succeeded, and refused to be invisible ever again. 6 months later, the Bridgepoint logo had grown bigger, our headcount had doubled, and Series C funding had closed with far more enthusiasm than I'd ever dared imagine. My face appeared on the cover of a business magazine, smiling but carrying the quiet weight of every year I'd spent proving myself in silence. The empire I'd built wasn't just visible to the world. It was undeniable. Ryan had taken the junior role, and to my surprise, he didn't quit. He showed up for spreadsheets, late nights, and meetings where he was told no more times than he could count. His manager was fair but firm. Maya occasionally updated me with a smirk. "He's learning." And he was. The old Ryan would have immediately blamed someone else, spun every setback into a drama for sympathy. Now he was learning accountability, resilience, and the rare lesson of starting from the bottom, and why parents, of course, did not adapt gracefully. My mother called, furious, her voice high-pitched and trembling. How could you humiliate your own brother? Do you know how it looked? For a moment, my old instincts kicked in. Explain, justify, apologize. But then I remembered the empty chairs, the screenshots, the punchline of my name at that toast video. And I spoke the truth instead. Ryan didn't get a job he wasn't qualified for, I said calmly. That's not humiliation. That's mercy. The conversation shifted, slowly tilting the scales of accountability. Family helps each other, my mother said. Family doesn't ban a daughter from dinner, I countered. Family doesn't talk about her like she's a problem. You helped Ryan. You never once offered to help me. Her pause was long. We didn't think you needed it. That was your mistake, I said. Simple, final. Later, the next New Year's invitation arrived. A group text. Clean slate. I stared at it, remembering the girl I had once been. Desperate to be included. Eager for a seat at a table that never wanted her. That girl was gone. In her place stood the woman who had built a company, proven her worth, and refused to let anyone diminish it. I typed a response and hit send. I'm not coming this year. Open to rebuilding, but not at a table where I was a ghost. If you want a relationship, it has to happen in the light. And I pressed send before any doubt softened my resolve. I started a new tradition instead. Bridgepoint friends, Maya, small business owners who had become a chosen family. We toasted on the balcony at midnight. Chicago's lights blinked below us like a promise, a reminder that the world was bigger than the narrow confines of judgment and favoritism. Ryan sent a text later that night. A photo of one empty chair at our old parents' table. I told them what I did, he wrote. About the ultimatum, about the assignment. They didn't take it well, but it was time. I'm sorry, Liv, for all of it. He had finally let them feel the absence he had once been shielded from. A quiet but profound lesson that some truths only land when the consequences are lived, I replied. Thank you. That's between you and them. My life doesn't revolve around their approval anymore. His next text made me smile. Maybe next year we have our own dinner, just us. Maybe, I replied. If you bring dessert. Looking back, the lesson is simple. Nobody tells you about family revenge. The real victory isn't watching them crumble, or seeing a little karmic justice. It's standing so solid, so self-assured, that they can't move you anymore. It's choosing your own table, creating your own traditions, building peace on your terms, and letting them live with the echo of the seat they refuse to save for you. Oh, I'll ask you this. Would you ever sit at their table again? Or would you build a new one, for yourself, for the people who truly see your value, and let them decide if they're worthy of a seat? Because in the end, family isn't always about blood. It's about respect, reciprocity, and the choice to protect your own worth above all else. And when you finally claim that, no apology, no invitation, no ultimatum can ever take it away. Finally, thank you very much. Please give me your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. See you with the next story.